Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. I will speak today in English. Today, during my short presentation, I will talk about storage systems in general, and then in the end, a small information about my developments or developments of my colleagues. Me as the previous presenter, working with power electronics, but in the near area which is related to interfacing the battery storages with the grid. So if you look at the energy storages, you can see that energy can be stored in many different ways, and today we will focus on electrochemical and mechanical hydropower storage. So the storage can be situated everywhere. So the storage can be integrated everywhere in the grid on the facility level, also on the distribution level, on the commercial and the residential level. So there is a very big flexibility there. And if we look at the options which storage system provide for us, it's actually, we can call it in one word, it's flexibility. So it gives the power system a lot of flexibility in terms of different services which it provides. So for example, it can assist in frequency regulation, support the grid, peak shaving of the loads during, let's say, peak consumption periods. It can store excess wind or storage, wind or solar system, a topic that was raised by previous presenters. And it can also provide some backup power. If we look in general at the storage system capacity in terms of let's say, kilowatt hours or megawatt hours rather. So you can see this blue line or this blue color is related to pump hydro storage. So actually, if we talk about the energy which is being stored, 95% of the energy is stored by means of pumped hydro storage. And if we look without it, so we can see other technologies. This is, for example, the battery storage and flywheels and also thermal storage. You can see that, for example, the battery storage capacity is growing in the latest few years. And if we look at the experience curves, which show the price per kilowatt hours, we can see that, for example, here for the pumped hydro storage, it's basically around the same. So the system requires quite a lot of upfront investments. It requires special location, so you need to find the place where you can use different elevations to pump it upside or downside. And the price didn't change very much in the last, let's say, 30 years. So it's relatively the same per kilowatt hour. But if we look at the other technologies, for example, the lithium-ion batteries, you can see that it's dropping very significantly. In the close future, it can be already very close to this pump hydro storage, even in terms of price, not only in terms of and in terms of flexibility, it's actually much more fast in terms of the response times. For example, going for the pump storage, it's usually weeks or months even, the time frame, and for the battery, it can be from seconds to hours or days. So this is the US data, the deployment of storage system by sector. You can see that both residential and non-residential sectors are growing. And today I will focus mostly on the non-residential part. The countries which install the most capacities are United States, Australia, and Germany. So there are 3 leaders, and there is also Germany and China. So one example of the installation in the industry is the Hornsdale Power Reserve. Probably you have heard about it. It's one of the most famous projects in this area. It's built by Tesla, close to the wind park in southern Australia, and it's so far the biggest battery installed in the world. So it's 100 megawatt of power and 129 megawatt hours. And the project costed around $100. So if you look at the accuracy of the regulation, here the green line shows the demand from the grid, how much should be generated, and the yellow one shows conventional power plant. You can see that there is a lot of over or under regulation, so it tries to follow the profile, but it's not very precise there. And if you look at the battery, you can see that it's a perfect match. So you can generate very fast and exactly the amount you need. And for the first year of operation, it's started at the end of 2017. For the first year, it saved already 40 million of dollars. So considering the investments, there is a big potential there, even if we consider that the typical lifetime of this solution is maybe 10 years or so. So that was about the industry. Now in the residential sector, the main driving factors are dropping feed-in tariffs. This happened around already 7 or 8 years ago in many countries. This is the example from Germany. The feed-in tariffs reduced, and now you actually buy the electricity from the grid at much higher price than you sell it, and this is the main motivation for installing storage, so you don't have to sell your electricity very cheap and then buy it in expensive way. You're better off using it or storing it for later use, even considering that the storage efficiency is not 100%. It's close to maybe around trip efficiency of most systems now is from 80 to 90%. Even there, it can be beneficial. So if we look at the residential storage in Europe, what companies are available or what companies are successful in the market, it's Sonnen, the German company, then it's also Elzichem, Varta. For example, Tesla is not very popular. It's only 3% as of 2017. And here are some prices and overview of different parameters of the system you can buy. So the price is, it's in British pounds, but you can see it's approximately from 4,000 euros to let's say 10,000 euros. Obviously, there are different power levels and capacities. And the warranty period is typically from 5 to 10 years, but 10 years is becoming more of a standard. And to get this 10 years, different chemistry should be used. It's also lithium, but it's lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are maybe not as good in terms of energy density, so you don't use them in the mobile devices or in electric vehicles, but for stationary storages, they offer much better cycling capability, so they can handle thousands of cycles without significant, let's say, reduction in stored energy. And here we can see the typical operating profile during the day. So this is the generation from the solar panel, so how the PV plus solar storage works. So basically you save the energy during the morning time, then you have to feed in. and then you use it during the later time in the evening. And here I compare different power levels of storages, of how you should size the converter, what is the trade-off between the power and the energy of the system. So usually I've made a small analysis and I come to a conclusion, so it's around 1.5 kilowatts per kilowatt hour. So for example, 1 kilowatt hour battery will usually have like 500 watt, let's say, converter, or 10 times higher both. So now about developments in our group. So we have built a converter which interfaces the battery storage with the grid. It also has some DC link where different let's say energy sources can be interconnected, for example PV panels. So here is the prototype. We have used lithium iron phosphate battery there, and it's 24 volts, so the goal was to develop the converter which will step up this 24 volt DC voltage to the alternate 130 volt to feed into the grid and to do it in the both directions. So here are some of the parameters. Now, yeah, we raised the power from 300 to 500 watts in the latest version. And yeah, here how it looks like in the box. So it's basically a box that you put into your garage or basement, and you can put several of them in parallel. And the advantage is it's based on developed topology which we proposed. It provides high efficiency in very wide range of power and voltage levels. So this gives us, let's say, a basement for the future research where we can actually look at the more flexible control of the storage system, because now if the storage operates in the microgrid, typically it's just on or off. So you just charge it at full capacity or discharge it at full capacity. And if you can allow more flexible control and provide also high efficiency at various power levels, you can create much more comprehensive algorithms. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much. But then what are the best options to store energy in Estonia? And should these be distributed throughout the country, like in every house, and you do a so-called grid storage, or do you somehow centralize the energy storage?
Yes, it's a good question indeed. In Estonia, it's a little bit more complex in terms that, as already mentioned, in northern climate, we have, let's say, overproduction of green energy in the summertime and less or almost zero production winter time. So, and the storages, at least the battery storages, are maybe not at this level. Then they can be, let's say, season-based. If we look at the let's say residential level, you are like a private person. Should you install it? Then it obviously depends on how the grid operator can motivate you to do it. Because I know there are some thoughts about if there can be some subsidies for the people who actually have storage systems and provided the access, let's say, to this storage to the grid operator, so he can use it to his own advantage as well. So it depends on the regulation, and it's still not settled up, not only in Europe but in Estonia as well, and it's still a very hot topic. There are a lot of projects and horizon projects which are addressing this. So how can the customers be motivated from the, to install this.
Thank you.